Oh yeah, we're going down to Massachusetts. Hello out there in Videoland. That was a song, Massachusetts. I think that was by the Bee Gees or something. I don't know. I'm not a whiz in music. Yeah, that was the Bee Gees. I'm not a whiz in music though, so what do I know? If you're listening to the video, you probably didn't know what song was playing on the radio because you can't hear it, and I shut it off and everything else. But it was Massachusetts. I can hardly say it. Never mind. Anyway, my name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Your City, Your Voice. Welcome to the show this morning. Well, it's actually afternoon now. It's after 12. So good afternoon. And we are here on 4680Q, live at noon every day. This is what we do. This is the show. And we have a lot of really good topics to talk to this morning. But first, I would like to get into our sponsors for Straight Talk Thursday. That's what I call this show, Straight Talk Thursday. And our sponsors are Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. Now, Wild Bill's, we always talk about the weather and this and that. It's getting hot. You want your air conditioning to run right. You in your car, you want your brakes working. You want everything working in your car because you're going to go on a little trip this summer. And the last thing you want to do is be sitting on the side of the road. And especially with your cooling system, you definitely don't want your car overheating. So what do? You go to Wild Bill's, you ask Ken Hunter, the proprietor, put your car on his diagnostic equipment. It will tell him any fault codes. Once he sees fault codes, he can help you. He can fix them before you break down. And that's a good thing. Who wants to break down on the side of the road? Nobody. Not that I know anyway. Get your car in there. Let Ken take a look at it. Make sure you're all safe. Your brakes are good. Everything's performing the way it should. So you don't break down on the road. Be proactive, not reactive. Reactive also costs you more. A lot of problems you can solve before if you get it in there early enough. Anyway, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. If you get in a fender bender or a major collision, get it into Ken, a full body shop. Make your car look shiny and new like it came out of the factory and get you back on the road real quick. Where do you find Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop? Oakwood Drive, right next to the Kia dealership. You can get in there. And also, with these roads in this city, you're going to find you need alignments done on your car regularly. They'll knock your teeth out, never mind your ball joints and everything else in your front end. Ken can do that. Go see him. He'll take care of you. Tell him Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. So here we are today. And, it's been a sad week for everybody at 4680Q, of course, because Rick Rose has passed on. And, we're doing shows, and every show we do a little bit of a memory to Rick. Because, he got this started and gave most of us our shot at sitting here in front of a microphone and giving our opinions. And I know I never had any experience doing this before. And I came up with, Your City, Your Voice, mostly to do with politics, whether they be regional, municipal, and that. And here we are, like 8 years later. I think I was 2 years in, and then COVID. And then 2 years after that, since the last election. So we're going on another 2 years here, 358 shows and another 250 before that. So, yeah, the reality is I'm closing in on 1,000 shows. But it was all because of Rick. All because of Rick. He had this station. He had this idea. He wanted to play great music and have some great talk shows and podcasts and that kind of thing. So that's why we're here. But, it's really funny. I really never knew Rick on a musical level. Like, I knew he was a musician and he wrote songs. He was in Nashville. I knew all that stuff because everybody talked about it. My family knew him pretty well, his family, because they lived on Throatstone Road right next door to his family, and they knew him well, the Gambarados. And basically, that's how I knew Rick, just from around town. But I never really talked to the guy. And, I'm not a musician. And I don't know a lot about music, not to the extent Rick did or my buddy John Filion does. They talk music, and they be pulling out these names of big producers all over, and they know the whole scene, but not me. I never did that. So when I sat and talked to Rick after every show, we'd sit and talk if he had time. I mean, Rick was always doing something for somebody. And if I had time to sit down and talk to him, we didn't talk about music. We never talked about music. What we talked about was downtown and downtown BIA and politics and world events and all kinds of things other than music. And so I really knew him more as a guy who knew a lot about everything. And it's really probably some angle that maybe a lot of people, I've seen them posting on Facebook and that about his music and blah blah blah, mostly about music. But I knew Rick more of a well-rounded, smart guy who really was well versed in talking about anything, conspiracy theories, whatever you wanted to talk about. Rick knew enough to carry on a great conversation about it. And Rick tried to stay neutral in most things. He really didn't get involved in, like me, in opinion. He got more involved in he did have his opinions, but he was more of a both sides of the aisle guy, right? Whereas I'm pretty clean cut, exactly what I like and what I don't like, and what I believe in politics and what I don't believe in. Rick wasn't as much so much like that, but that's what we talked about. And so, as much as everybody will sit here and tell him what a great musician he was and all that, I really didn't know him on that level. I knew him more as a businessman. We talked about business as a guy who did a lot of good for the city, and he's always taking his equipment out somewhere and setting it up and that kind of thing. As an educator, he had music lessons here. He gave music lessons. He loved to see the kids. Once a year, they had a music show. He'd love to get his equipment all set up and give those kids a chance to get in front of people and on stage, to show what they can do after a year of lessons here. They put together their little bands. He supported anybody who was out there in music and that kind of thing. And it was really a different side of Rick that I don't know how many people sat and talked business with him or anything like that. Maybe they did, but that's what we talked about. And we didn't talk about music. Now, the one thing he did talk about music was never his career, but Rick had a lot of stories, very very good stories, and he reminded me of like a book, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, or something like that. The Adventures of Huck Finn, and it was the adventures of Rick Rose. And he told me a lot of stories about when he was in a band like Lennox and that kind of thing. And when they traveled up to the northern cities, North Bay, Thunder Bay, Timmins, Sudbury, straight across northern Ontario and then over into Manitoba and Saskatchewan out to BC. And the stuff on the road and the adventures were unbelievable what we faced. Now you got to figure, here's a band from Niagara Falls. They were like more of a glam rock band, right? With the long hair and glam type of thing, and they're going into some redneck town in northern Alberta or northern Ontario, to play this kind of music. And of course, the people there, that wasn't their kind of music per se, And they told me about the adventures of people wanting to fight them and throwing stuff at them, and it was almost like the Blues Brothers in the movie. But I always used to get a kick out of listening to Rick's stories about being on the road. And the other thing we talked a lot about was the local people. We both were born here. We both grew up downtown. My grandmother, I can point to her house right from here. I can see it. And Rick's parents just lived over here on Park Lane. So we both were like in the downtown area, and we both knew a lot of the same people, the same characters in Niagara Falls, and we laughed talking about them. We knew them and knew all about them and everything else. So it was really really a fun time to go back in time with Rick, and then to listen to his adventures on the road. And that's what we talked about. Now, we never talked about any songs he wrote. Never talked about any productions he did. That was reserved for other people who knew what they were talking about. I knew the name Mick Ronson. I mean, I knew the names, but that's not what we talked about. Rick and I never talked about that kind of stuff. So we also shared our love for the Montreal Canadiens, and we talked about the Montreal Canadiens, who's coming up, who's going down, and that's where the show Absolutely came from. I talked about that yesterday on Absolutely. Rick said, "Why don't you do a show on the Montreal Canadiens?" And we started that up, but it was Rick's idea. I mean, I never even thought of doing something like that. I mean, we're in Leaf and Bruins land over here, not Montreal Canadiens land. So that was pretty neat. And we've got 90 shows done on that. So we've got 90 shows in the bag on that one. But yeah, that was Rick. He whatever he thought would be a good subject and be fun. He would love to anybody to do it if they thought they could do it. And he gave everybody a break. And the very small part of it, the music we talked about was more about his adventures, like Foxwoods when he played Foxwoods in Nashville. Some of the adventures he was on, and I really enjoyed listening to his stories. Like I say, it was like listening to Huckleberry Finn tell his adventures, or anybody else who was on adventures, and it was really entertaining. So that's what we talked about. We didn't talk about music that much, to be honest with you. I told him you should write a book. I mean, these are things that should be put down somewhere. I don't know if he ever did or whatever, but I wish I had my phone on while he was talking so that I could have I could put something to paper because the stories are all there, and I'm sure he told them many times. And yeah, he had a good memory about that, and he knew a lot of stuff about the world too. He knew what was going on. Rick was not just music. He was about a lot of stuff. So I'll miss those talks after my show. And of course, he had a big heart and the biggest in Niagara Falls, and he'd do everything for anybody. He didn't know the word no. But, God may have called him home, but he left the memories that nobody will ever forget. We'll meet again, and he'll have new adventures to share with me. And we'll see him on the other side. We'll see you, Rick. See you on the other side, amigo. And for people who maybe don't get the review on that, the funeral arrangements have been made, and I'll give you the visitation times. He'll be at the Patterson Funeral Home on Main Street in Niagara Falls, doing his last gig, I guess, with visitations today from 5 to 9. Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the evening, and the funeral mass is on Saturday at 10:30 in the morning at St. Anne's Church in Niagara Falls. It's down on Buchanan Avenue. And if you want to donate to something really good, donations may be made to the Rick Rose Music Foundation to support the many aspects of music in Niagara Falls. And every day I come in here, I miss him. And he hasn't. Excuse me. I'm getting a little bit choked up. He hasn't been around. Just give me a second. He hasn't been around for about 6 months. We haven't seen him. And we're going to miss him. Let me have a drink of water for a second. It's not an easy one when you see somebody every 5 times a week for a couple of years. Anyway, over to the show. Oh, this will get me back in shape here. Over to City Council. Oh boy. And you know what I get going on when I get on City Council. What a meeting on Tuesday night, and how mistaken I was when I thought this week the council meeting would start at 1 p.m. and end by about 5, and all the councilors would get home and have a nice barbecue with their families. I really thought the agenda wasn't that long and it would happen, but it ended up being a 7 or 8 hour marathon with a 2.5 hour in-camera session. I cannot imagine what they were talking about for 2.5 hours in camera. There's only 2 real planning matters and that kind of thing. So who knows? It was ridiculous again. And Councillor Peter Angelo was sitting in the mayor's chair for this one. The big show must have taken the night off. And I must say, the meeting was more civil. The meeting was less frantic. The meeting was less of a show and more of a business meeting. Although a few counselors went overboard and should have been stopped. I mean, what they were talking about could have been done at another time or in another setting, not at city council. But overall, I liked the tone and the demeanor of the meeting with the Velvet Hammer sitting in the mayor's chair. And it was really interesting to watch because it's usually like a circus when you watch it. It's not a business meeting, it's like a tea social. This was a business meeting. Victor Peterangelo ran it like a business meeting, which is what city council is. It's a business. They're dealing with $170 million of our money. And I really, really liked the tone. It wasn't confrontational. It was a very, very nice meeting, and I really liked it. I think that's where the meeting should be like. But I think that there's still ways to cut down the time, and Councillor Strange was going to look into that. He had a motion to look into that, how they can cut down the length of the meetings. And I've said it a million times, how they can do it. Nobody listens to me though. What am I? I'm just a dummy on the radio. But at the end of the day, I could tell him exactly how to do it. And probably somebody from the outside telling them what they should do is better than when you're sitting inside there, right? That's probably it. And so anyway, but Peter Angelo was sitting in the mayor's chair for this one, which was good. So where did I get the timeline wrong? I thought they'd be finished early. Well, let's start with the first planning on the agenda item, or the first item on the agenda. The first agenda item. Huh. Either way, right? Yeah. Sometimes I feel like such a Joe Biden. Now, staff okayed a development on Welland Street and in Oliver Streets in Chippewa. There were a lot of speakers opposing the development. Maybe 5 or 6 stood up, and they gave their good reasons for opposing it. But one resident in particular, Randy West, told that there was a 5-minute limit on how much he could talk, but he went on for 15 minutes, maybe. I don't know. It was just a long, drawn out thing, like it was like the letter he sent, a War and Peace letter to city council about it. I mean, somebody should have stopped him, and right then and there. And the other speakers were right in line. They were within the 5 minutes. One resident, let's see, add that to all the other people speaking, and you've got a half an hour right there, plus the discussion among council members. And of course, when you get a residents there talking against it, council, they folded, and basically what happened is they voted against staff recommendations. Now, it's not a good thing to do. When staff goes there, looks at the planning, and accepts it and says they recommend approving it because it meets all the provincial guidelines, the city guidelines, and everything else, and they put conditions on it, for different reasons. When they look at setbacks and side setbacks and rear setbacks and everything, they figure out if this is a good development. And when they say yes, they say yes. And the council chose to go against them and say no, which is fine. I mean, that's a vote getter. Let's face it. But at the end of the day, I was sitting there yelling at the screen. And I can't believe that not one counselor or even staff stood up and said, listen, here's the repercussions of you saying no. Because there are repercussions of city council saying no to a planning matter that has been approved by staff. And the repercussions are this. The developers can go to the OLT, the Ontario Land Tribunal. They present their case to the OLT saying that our plan was okayed by the city staff. Council turned it down. Now we want you to review it and overturn council. And this means that the city has to hire a planner that agrees with council that it should have been overturned if they can find one, and then try to get it overturned. Like they're going to have to go, this planner's going to have to go present the case to city council. And then, of course, the other planner is going to come and present his case. And then they're going to call the city planners, and they'll say they approved it because it met all the requirements. And then the OLT is going to say, okay, build it. Now, the best anybody can hope for is maybe a couple concessions. But at the end of the day, If they decide, the developers, to take it to the OLT, they will probably get approval, but in the process, it's going to cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars to hire these people, go to these hearings, present the case, and at the end of the day, you're hiring these expensive planners to go to give their opinion on whether it's a good plan for the city. And the OLT isn't an emotional group. They look at the facts. Yes, nobody wants anything in their backyard. I faced that in our neighborhood 30 years ago, where we had this big tract of land between a bunch of houses, going from Drummond Road right to David Avenue, and it was wide open. I mean, we played football in there when we were kids. It was a wide open field. And of course, all the neighbors surrounding this wide open field on Drummond, Stevens, David, and Scott Street didn't want this development. And we did manage to get concessions. They put a bunch of condos in there. They were going to put an apartment building or something. And we got a lot of concessions. And it's a beautiful building. It's worked out really good. And none of the fears that we had as far as traffic and that kind of thing ever came to fruition. It really hasn't been a big deal. But the OMB, it was at that time. And we did our presentation in front of the OMB. I was involved in it. And they okayed it with these concessions that the builders had made. And away it went. And that's what's going to happen to this one. And you can appreciate the citizens not wanting it. Nobody wants anything. Nobody wants a green space filled in their neighborhood. And we saw planning matter number 2, the same thing on St. John Street. Developers bought a house, and the property goes from St. John right back to a hydro right of way. And then they bought the land behind the house next door. And they're going to put, I think, 5 units in there, condominiums, detached condominiums. And they didn't want it neither. It's not in character with the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff that they say for all this. The sewers can't handle it. But our planners have been through all that. They've consulted the right people. So finally, the Penguin stood up and he said, listen, here's the ramifications of you saying no, because he saw one go south. He didn't want to see another one go south here, and it was going. It was going. And I'm sure the residents are saying, well, how come they turned the other one down? They didn't turn our down. It was the same thing, 5 units in the land that you need to do. And this is the problem when you start doing this, then everybody wants you to do it. And you've got to depend on your staff to come up with the right answer, saying that it's a good build. That's what you have them for. That's what you have them there to make these kind of decisions for you, because no counselor is a planner and that kind of thing, right? So they get the information to make it. So anyway, the Penguin got up, Jason Burgess, and he told them the ramifications of turning these things down. And finally, some common sense prevailed, and they said no to the second one. But the first one's going to be the problem. So I guess the 4 residents that were unhappy that this is building on Welland Avenue and Oliver Street in Chippewa, they got their way for now, but I don't think that way will prevail. I don't think it will at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens with it. Keep your eye on it. All I can say is to the residents that the NIMBY, not in my backyard syndrome, doesn't work when it comes to WLT. And what's going to happen, holy crap, this guy's going to kill somebody out here. He's driving like a maniac. But what's going to happen is that at the end of the day, they'll probably get overturned if the developers want to take it to OLT. Now they got to hope that the developers just say, this is too much of a pain in the neck. I'm not taking it to OLT, and call it a day. And that would probably be the best bet that they could hope for. But if it does go, there's no way it's going to be overturned. You can almost guarantee it. Right? And John Ringo Beam goes, you predicted that one wrong. And I'm going, well, I predicted it wrong for now, but I think at the end of the day, I'll be right, because I thought they'd approve it, but obviously they didn't. So yes, I was wrong today, but I can't guarantee you I'll be wrong within the next year. So other than that, the meeting went pretty well. Once again, Counselor NP showed she's not ready for meetings, asking questions whose answers were right in the agenda items. I don't know if there's a comprehension problem or she's just not prepared. Who knows? I don't know. Other than the meeting being too long, Counselor Campbell checked out during the in-camera He had enough after 4 or 5 hours and checked out. And there was another a real a real rant by Counselor Only Eight for about 6 or 7 minutes about homelessness, something that has been talked about over and over again. Moral implications, all this stuff we already know. It's been rehashed at City Council so many times. Everybody else got to stand up and do the same routine. I mean, there's no need for it in a City Council meeting. If you want to have that discussion with city people or planners, not planners, but Jason Burgess, the CAO, or what's her name there, Miss Dolch, or anybody else. That's a conversation you can have. But in a council meeting, it's been rehashed a million times. We've talked about this. So it just was turned into another half hour, 45-minute ordeal. And she also talked about $50 pair of gloves. I mean, the city uses $50 work gloves for $50 a pair. And she said they were picking up human waste at the cemetery or something, and then they throw them away. Are you kidding me? I mean, all you need is a pair of those latex rubber gloves. Pick up the stuff and the shovel in that and get rid of it. What do you need 50? I got to find out. Somebody should look into $50 gloves. I mean, I've never bought a pair of work gloves for $50. I don't know, unless there's some kind of like high tech. Um, I don't know. I can't even imagine what they would be, but she mentioned them, and that's that. So somebody should look into $50 gloves. I never heard of that before. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't know where she got that from. She said somebody told her that at the city Fairview Cemetery. I guess we had to look into that. $50 a pair of gloves? Are you kidding me? But anyway, it wasn't a bad meeting. It wasn't a bad meeting. Um, well, they all start up, one goes and they start up, but at the end of the day, it's just a waste of time. Most of it, I mean, homelessness has been addressed with money, more social workers, you name it, tons of hours of discussion. A lot of resources have been thrown at this, and the situation is worse. So my advice is go to YouTube. There's Onion out there. He's waving, and oh, Onion's funny. He's my buddy Tony Strange is out there, and basically, there's all this stuff been thrown at it. We've discussed it a million times. Go listen to a guy named Mark Leda on YouTube. He works with the homeless on Skid Row in LA. That's what he does. He's got 1,000 videos out talking to Skid Row people, and he'll tell you exactly how it's got to be cured, and he'll tell you why it can't be cured right now. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion until you get to the reason these people are homeless and they're on the street. And that's the important part. And that's the one that matters, right? So you definitely would be advised to go and listen to Mark Leda on YouTube and see what he has to say about this. It's very, very interesting. Now, another part of it, Councilor Coco really hit the ball out of the park on the University of Niagara Falls and the student situation. And this is going to be a real problem if it comes to fruition. We haven't seen it yet, but if you recall, I had Mike Lucid in here a few weeks ago, and we talked about the University of Niagara Falls and the ramifications of immigrant students. And we're seeing all his words come true, what he was talking about. Councilor Coco's concerns are all valid. It's going to be a huge problem that is, when they're talking about bringing in 2,000 students in September, that's fine, but what are they going to do? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to live? And they're also allowed to bring in their families. So 2,000 students might be 4,000 or 5,000 people, all in these student visas and everything else, right? So it's a real, real concern and a valid concern. And we're talking about September, a month and a half away. So this is going to be a nightmare if they all come downtown and they're looking for places to live and everything. We don't have housing in Niagara Falls. Gus, Global University Systems, should be the ones that are building the housing for their students. Well, there is no housing. So what are these people going to do? Live in tents on Queen Street? More encampments? Is that what they're doing? Because they're doing that in Brantford. 25 people to a house living in encampments because there's nowhere to live for these students that are supposed to be coming in. And, like these universities, like Mike Luce said, are mostly scams to bring in immigrants and not have them go through regular channels and all the paperwork. They get student visas or whatever they're called, and then they disappear. And they're going to be in town, 2,000 of them for now, but they're talking 10 to 15,000 eventually that are all going to be fighting for housing, healthcare, schools, and other public services. And just drive around the city, you'll see what I mean. And this isn't even started yet, this university. Um, I say stay tuned for this one. I'm getting Mike back into the studio. We'll talk a little bit about downtown and more about that. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a really good meeting. The 2.5 hours in camera was odd, but I like the calm that presented itself. Councillor Peter Angelo knows how to run a meeting in the mayor's chair. And for the month of July, the circus left town and was down to business. I like it. I liked it. Congratulations to Mr. Councillor, Mr. Peter Angelo. And your leader leads and everybody else follows suits. And I found that everybody was more into a business mood than a circus mood, which is what I want to see. And that's how you get meetings down. You don't allow the offhand chatter and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to talk about my second sponsor, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. Now, you've all been into a neighborhood. You've seen it at houses at night. They're all lit up and they look fantastic. That's Hamilton Glowstone Lighting, the leader in permanent outdoor lighting. I mean, these things are there. They put them up. They're there for good. All LED, so they're cheap on power. You don't have to worry about your hydro bill getting jumped because you have your lights on. And they're invisible. In the daytime, you can't see them. They're all track lighting. They're built in zones, so you can change the color on zones right on your phone, by the way. Right on your phone, there's an app to be able to change it. They're all warranted. They're all soldered, sealed against dust and moisture, so you don't have to worry about that with them. As well, there's a 10-year warranty on them, so you're set up for 10 years. You don't have to worry. They're good for 10 years at least. LED lights last a long time. Let me put it that way. But they come and check them whenever you need them to make sure everything's functioning perfectly. And if you have problems knowing how to run them on your phone, they'll help you out with that. They also add value to your house. When people come in and they see these lights at night, it makes your house look spectacular. Believe me. So you're going to get a little bit more for it because you have this beautiful lighting. It's safer. All your pathways are lit up. Your driveways are lit up. Your patios are lit up. Wherever you want them, they're there. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting is who you want to call. Now you call in Buckborough. He's the guy who runs it. His number is 289-969-1797. You call him up. He's going to come give you a free estimate, and you can go from there. Now, if you really want to Griswold your house, you really want to tune your house up, they have financing. You can finance it. And rather than plop down one big lump sum of money, hey, you can finance it and pay monthly on approved credit. You're good to go. Hamilton Glowstone Lighting, call in Buckborough. That's who you want to call. 289-969-1797. And if you want to see their work, there's a nice gallery at glowstonelighting.com. That's GLOWSTONELIGHTING, just like it sounds, .com. And you're going to be able to see the beautiful work they do. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. So, there's a lot of story here. There's another drowning in the creek. And it's really funny. This guy was from Stony Creek who apparently decided to jump in off the railway bridge or something like that. I mean, this is totally illegal. You can't do it. There's signs posted all over the place. But there's always guys from out of town who decide that swimming in the Niagara River, the Whirlpool, the Gorge, the Glen, or the creek is a good idea. I mean, yeah, somebody drowned, and that's too bad. That is too bad. That's unfortunate. But the bottom line is, is that it's impossible to save everybody. I mean, if they don't want to obey signs, laws, rules, regulations, they're not going to work. They're posted there. I mean, short of fencing off the whole river like they do with the hydro canal, if you want to keep everybody out, that's one option if you want to do that. But I mean, it's going to make it less enjoyable for a lot of other people having a big fence in their backyard blocking the river. A lot of people have little boats in their backyards that are along the river, and they jump in them and go for a nice little boat ride and stuff like that. But short of doing that, I mean, you just can't be everybody's keeper. And a drowning here and a drowning there. It happens in every waterway. I don't care where you are. Every waterway has a drowning. Go along Lake Erie. There's drownings all the time. It's something you can't prevent. And you can't let, a drowning, somebody not following the rules, supersede the enjoyment that people, get out of being on waterways. Water and people really don't mix, especially when you throw into, the mix of swift currents and undertows. And that's why there's warning signs. There's bound to be accidents if people don't observe the signs. I mean, we spend a ton on resources and equipment for rescues. We spend a ton on signs for warnings and everything that we can think of to keep people safe. But these people who don't want to adhere to the rules and ignore the warnings, I mean, that's just the way it is. You can't prevent 100% of the drownings. And everybody's going to say, well, but Paul, even one life. Yeah, I know. But at the end of the day, how much do taxpayers want to pay to cure stupidity? There's no vaccination for that. And that's the bottom line. I mean, you're going to have accidents. You're going to have this happening. And it's a lot of times it's people from out of town. They don't want to listen to signs. They don't want to listen. I mean, there's people probably yelling at them to get the hell off of there, but they don't care. They don't care, and this is what happens. So, yeah, we could throw a ton more money on it and everything else, but at the end of the day, you're still going to see people not paying attention or not to the signs, and they're going to drown. So I don't know. Yeah, too bad, but for me, it's a matter of how much money they want to throw at this. I mean, you can stop them. Just put a fence all the way up and down the Welland River from the mouth of the Niagara River all the way down to wherever the hell you want to put a fence. Keep people out. Not going to be much fun for homeowners along there and people who have boats and that, but it's the way it goes. Okay, here come the booze. Watch out, all you lefties. The booze is coming to corner stores, and you are going to see drunks all over the place. Everybody's going to be drunk and staggering. Well, that's your perspective anyway, but it isn't true. So sane people know that this is a real nice convenience and will treat it as such. The nanny state is over. You don't need to control every aspect of a person's life. You're not going to see a difference. You said the same thing about beer in grocery stores, and I don't see people staggering around the parking lots of the grocery store, running in and buying beer and drinking it out in the parking lot or anything. It's no more of a problem than buying it at a liquor store or a beer store or anything else. And there's a lot of people, saying, "Oh, it goes in corner stores and blah blah blah." They already control lottery tickets, cigarettes, vapes. They control all kinds of stuff there by asking for ID, because their right to sell this stuff depends on them treating it right as well, and they will. So of course not. So for me, welcome to corner stores, beer, wine, and pre-mixed drinks. It's been a long struggle, but we are here. And the next thing we're going to break up is the LCBO monopoly as well. Private liquor stores are the way to go. Don't let them hold everybody hostage. It'll work out. It does everywhere else in the free world anyway. Private liquor stores owned by private people making their money. And that's the way we're going, whether they like it or not. These guys all are on strike and yelling and screaming and blocking places. But at the end of the day, they're signing their pink slips. I will guarantee it. Now, let's go over to the election down south, because this is turning into something else. So the Republican National Convention, it's in full swing right now. Trump's going to speak tonight. His choice for vice president, J.D. Vance, spoke last night. And when Trump walked in Monday, after the assassination attempt on him on Saturday, the place erupted. It went crazy. It was pandemonium. Unbelievable that only 2 days after being shot in Butler, Pennsylvania during a rally, he was there. He showed up. Everybody was going crazy. And there's a bevy of people speaking that night. And they're from, they range from politicians to regular people, just talking about their issues with the government, things that have happened to them, whether it be military, 13 people killed in Afghanistan, and Joe Biden not even talking to him about it. It was all Joe Biden's fault. They got up there and talked. Trump announced this VP choice, J.D. Vance, a 39-year-old senator from Ohio, former Marine Corps corporal serving in Iran. He came from nothing, and he had a book called Hillbilly Elegy. And if you have a chance to read it, you should. I'm going to for sure. And they did a movie about it. He came from nothing, got a degree in law from Yale, and he's the first millennium to be nominated on a major party ticket. And I think this is going to be great because, voters have been citing the age of both candidates. Well, now you've got a guy 39 years old, and he's going to step in, and he's a senator. He's ready to take over. He's going to be good. And the neat thing about J.D. Vance, and this is what everybody's saying to me, oh, J.D. Vance hated Trump. He called him a Nazi and everything. And yeah, that was 8 years ago. And he did. And he'll tell you he did. And he was he was in the same place as a lot of people in 2016 when Trump had been elected. There's so many people that actually hated Trump for no reason. If you ask people why they hate Trump, they'll give you all kinds of nonsense, but they really can't tell you. They just hate him because you know why? The talking heads in the media told you to hate him. He's this, he's that, he's a con artist, he's a thief, he's a criminal, he's all this other stuff, right? And at the end of the day, he was the best president the United States maybe has ever had. In those 4 years, there was no wars. The economy was great. The border was closed. Immigration was under control. He shipped out all these criminals that are being shipped into the country. Now we have 12 million people unloaded from jails and everything else in other countries running around the United States and in Canada, and they're causing all kinds of trouble. But yeah, he thought that too. He listened to the rhetoric. But then as he got into government and he started seeing what Trump was doing and started seeing that, no, this guy isn't a dictator. No, he's none of the stuff that the media was billing him as. He changed his mind. So he changed his mind from hating Trump, a Nazi, the whole shot. He believes it all. Now he knows the truth, and he's changed his view on it. And he's going to be great for the party for a lot of reasons. Number one, he came from nothing. Number two, he's a working stiff. He comes from the Rust Belt in Ohio and Indiana and Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt, where all these industries are. Michigan. He can relate to everybody. Number three, he's 29 years old. And he's just a good guy. He's got a great family and everything else. He's going to be good. And Trump is setting up the future of the Republican Party with a 39-year-old guy who will probably be the next president when he runs and be for 8 years. So this is great for the party. This is going to be really good. He's going to bring people over. And I can't wait to see a VP debate. I mean, they asked him for if he's going to debate. And he said, no, because I don't know who the vice president's going to be. And if you know what's going on with Biden right now, that's a valid statement because they're screwed, the Democrats. They want to get rid of Biden. Even Pelosi, Schumer, these guys are all rallying. Even Shifty Schiff, he's rallying against Trump or against Biden. And right now, Biden's in exile. He told everybody he's got COVID and he ran home to Delaware. He's not coming out of the house. He says he's under quarantine for COVID. Now, this guy's had COVID like, 100 times? I don't know. Every time he gets in trouble, he's got COVID. And he goes hides. But he can't hide for long. And then the left is saying that if he gets over COVID in 2 days, he's a hero like Trump. He's a hero. He's strong. He's healthy. He don't have COVID. He's hiding out. but he's going to be gone, I'd say, within the next week. I mean, they got to make a move on this guy, and they're going to take him out. And I don't even know if they'll put Harris in because she's so weak of a candidate. She's done nothing. She was the border czar that never even went to the border. It's a joke. It's a joke, and it's crazy. Now, there was a lot of speakers at the RNC over the last 3 days. Ted Cruz. Oh, geez, Marco Rubio, Vivek Ramaswamy, yeah, all the big names that ran. But the one person that got me, and I wish she'd just shut up, is Nikki Haley. Trump asked her to come and speak because he wanted to unite the party because Nikki Haley hates his guts. He wants to unite the party. So he invites her and she says yes. And she comes over and gives this jealous loser gave the worst speech. You could see that she hates the guy during the speech. And she says, I'm going to support Trump, which was obviously a baloney. She's not. It's just an act. You could tell. And it was just stupid to have her up there. I don't know why Trump did that. He tried to heal up the party and everything. But yeah, nah, he's, not with her. She's an also ran. But all the other guys were great. Cruz, Rubio, DeSantis, Ramaswamy, all. They understand about party politics and uniting the party. And they give up there, get a good speech going and they're really uplifting. And but her, get rid of her. She's a loser. She's done. He's cooked her political goose. Oh, the other ones that make me laugh on the internet are the people making fun of his patch. They had a patch on his ear because he got shot in the ear. He's got a patch on it. They're making fun of that. And I'm going, give me a break. I mean, these are the same people that said Trump set it up. Now, can you imagine telling a sniper, listen, we're going to set this up to make me look good, but I want you to hit me in the ear. Don't miss because you're going to hit me in the brain and blow up my head. But I just want you to hit me in the ear, not in the shoulder, not in the eye, the leg, or in the arm or something. Or no, hit me in the ear. Make sure the bullet goes right by my brain, like half an inch from my brain. How stupid is this? Who believes this stuff? And I don't even believe that this 20-year-old kid. I mean, this was a setup. There's no way he's gonna get up there. They all saw him walking around and getting up there, and nobody took a shot at him or got him out of there. It is just crazy. These are TDS people, and that's about it. They're crazy. And I was also saw a couple of other things about that Trump actually got shot more than once. Now Trump wears a flak jacket, a bulletproof vest on all his campaign stops. I mean, when he's talking in that, in case somebody does take a shot at him. And there was a picture of his jacket. I don't know if it was a real picture or not. I mean, it was a real picture, but I don't know if it was his jacket. But it had a bullet hole in it, and it looked like it would have hit him in the bulletproof vest, right? And I've heard this. This is the second time I've heard it that he got shot a couple times in the chest too. But of course, the bulletproof vest would stop anything from that far away. So yeah, pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So I don't know about that one. I'm just saying what I saw, but I'm sure we'll find out more about it at the end of the day. So interesting stuff coming out. Trump speaks tonight. It's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see it. And that ends that, and then we wait August 7th until the Democratic National Convention, and that is going to be interesting because I'm saying Biden will be gone by then. That's my take on it. I think he'll be gone by then. We won't be seeing Biden give the speech. And we don't know who if it's going to be Harris with another vice president. So that's why JD Vance said, no, I'm not going to do a debate until I know who the vice president is. There's no guarantees at this point. It's going to be Biden Harris. It could be Harris and Newsom or Harris and somebody else. Who knows? Hillary. Who knows who it's going to be? So he's going to wait and then tell us later. But at the end of the day, I think Biden's going to be gone, and I think even Harris might be gone. They might ditch both of them because neither one of them have a chance of beating Trump. So, like I say, sticking to that, Biden's got COVID again. He's in hiding. We won't see him for a couple of days for a little while. Now he's canceled all his speaking engagements. So there's that, and they're wacky. That whole party, Democratic Party, is gone. So coming back home. I noticed John Ringo Beam, a good buddy, John Ringo Beam, and of course Gary Wilkins was there giving a little video on it. The junk they call the Niagara Falls Memorial Arena. It's facing the wrecking ball. It's being torn down as we speak. And it's sad that it's being torn down. I mean, this was the home of so many great hockey games and events, the home of pickup hockey and public skating before the days of the internet. Was ball hockey in there. And I mean, it really was part of our childhood. We went more to Stanford Arena because of where we were, but we made it down to Niagara Falls Arena and skated around there too and enjoyed it. But when the city decides they're not going to take care of something and they don't want to spend the money and they let it go, they let it rot. This is what you get, right? So it's a memorial arena, which is to the memory of the people who fought in the wars in that. And same with Jack Bell Arena, they had a cenotaph right in front of it. It's sad to see these things go, and I'm not sure what'll go up there. But a hotel parking lot, who knows? We don't know. But there should be a plaque erected. The least the city can do, home of the Niagara Falls Memorial Arena, and maybe a plaque, with everything telling what that site was. And there's a lot of city pride that came out of that building with the Niagara Falls Flyers and the great people that went to the NHL and played and became all stars and everything else through hockey, right? So, yeah, interesting stuff. And it's so sad to see it go down. It's like the end of an era for us. And I know John Ringo Bean at one time even wanted to buy it and do something with it, but they wouldn't sell it to him. They sold it to, I think, the Russians, and they put the sand sculptures in there. And then there was a big plan to turn it into a Titanic museum at one point in time, and that never came to fruition. And now it's hit the wrecking ball and it's gone. Jack Bell's gone. I hope they keep the Chippewa Arena. They don't tear that down. I hope they refurbish that one. We don't have many icons like that left in the city. They're slowly going the way of the dodo, getting out of here. So anyway, if you want to have one last look, take a drive by Center Street and check it out and say goodbye. Because in another few days, it'll probably be gone and being loaded into trucks and taken away for good. Now, people never fail to amaze me. Now, this is a story I read in the review, right? And again, I don't know if it was Allison Langley or it wasn't Ray Spateri. He's on vacation, I think. And it wasn't John Law, but John Law, congratulations. Let me tell you, he did a really nice article on Rick Rose. Fantastic article. I mean, Rick Rose was a mainstay in the city of music, and John is the entertainment guy, so he knew him well and had interviewed him so many times. But a nice story, John. Thank you. In this case here, a woman calls up an Uber driver she needed a ride to get some stuff and get another ride back. He picks her up, takes her to the destination, helps her load her stuff she wanted to pick up, and was driving her back to where she came from, where she originally came from, right? Now, during the drive, this Karamveer Singh, that was the driver, asked the woman if she would like to go for a drive with them. Now, if this isn't warning sign number one, what is? She says yes. And she said because she felt the driver was just being friendly. Now, you don't know this guy. He's an Uber driver. You don't know him. He says, let's go for a drive together. And yeah, okay. Now, they headed down the Niagara Parkway, warning sign number 2. And the guy, the driver, told the passenger she had very large breasts. Warning sign number 3, this guy isn't just wanting to go for a drive. Put his hands on her shirt, trying to pull it down. Then he touched her left breast. Now, I know people are going to say that it wasn't her fault, but really, and it wasn't her fault. I mean, but she's going for a ride with an unknown guy. She has no clue who this guy is. I mean, the guy's a jerk and a perv, and since he's applying for Canadian citizenship, hopefully that is denied and he's deported pronto. But this probably isn't his first rodeo. He probably tries this all the time. But still, why do people put themselves in these situations? Like, why don't you just tell the guy, F you, get out of here, and I'm getting out of the car. Take me, when she got home. No, let's go for a drive. I mean, nothing good is going to come out of this. So why go for the ride in the first place? Now that's no excuse for the guy to do anything, but still, there's onus on people to use some common sense and figure out this guy isn't going to go for a ride without trying something. And she don't know the guy. I mean, if she should have said, "Listen, if you want to take me out, let's go for a date. Call me or something." But not right there. Go for a ride with some guy, and I don't know. Anyway. He got 2 years probation, and I hope Uber pulled his account, and I hope he's deported. But the way these courts and governments works, he'll probably continue to drive and continue to be a lecher and get his citizenship. I mean, that's the way we roll in Canada. But please, everybody, use a little bit of caution. Use a little bit of caution. I mean, even though this guy's a jerk and he should be deported and everything, I mean, there's still the onus on you to be a little bit safe. I mean, there's places you don't walk at night. You don't put yourself in these situations, in these dangerous situations. I don't know. Anyway, I could be wrong, and people are going to yell and scream at me about this. Da 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 da. Women's right. But you know what? I try not to put myself in these crazy situations, and I know a lot of women who are the same way. They try to just stay away from these goofy situations. I don't know what this girl was thinking. I don't know why, but I just think that she made a bad move there. So my last little item here is interesting. The LCBO shuts down, and 14 people have been charged with impaired driving so far this month, from July 1st to the 14th. So one a day. Now, I don't think anybody's missing the LCBOs being shut down. I really don't matter, right? Everybody's getting drunk anyway. People are still going to get their booze and smoke their weed. Drivers were between the ages of 21 to 65 and reside throughout the region, with drunks coming from as far away as Penetang in North York. There's probably several Americans in there too. You usually see a few in there. I know. So what does all this mean? 14 impaired driving charges in 14 days, one a day. Well, people are irresponsible as ever, and really, the LCB closed doesn't mean anything. They can still stay closed for a year, as long as bars and restaurants can get supplies from other distributors straight from the distilleries. They don't need the LCBO. They can keep their businesses going. Like I said, the LCBO is writing their own pink slips, writing their own obituary. It's only a matter of time before they go the way of the beer store. And they're facing the same fate as this week. The corner stores are able to put beer in there, and by the end of October, everybody's going to be selling beer and wine and premixed alcoholic drinks, which the LCBO is livid about. Long live the death of the nanny state. They can't control us forever. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm wrapping this up. Tomorrow's going to be a good show. Mr. Golf is on, Paul Vickery, straight from the villages in Florida. We're going to have him on the phone. There's not going to be a video, because if there is, you guys won't be able to know what I'm talking to him about anyway. So no video tomorrow, just a straight podcast on 4680Q, and listening live. It's the British Open, the Open they call it, and it's at the Toon Country Club in Toon, Scotland. That's where it's coming from. It's going to be interesting to see what Paul has to say. The first round is today. Right now it's playing out. We'll see who the leaders are tomorrow and who Paul picks to win this thing, who his dark horses are. If you want to put a couple shekels and bets on the golfers, you can. And it's going to be an interesting show with Paul. He's going to give it to you all tomorrow for all you golf fans. And then we're going to jump to Monday, which is Billy Ball Day. Yes, the buzzard, William Anthony Tellerico, Niagara Falls' self-proclaimed baseball expert, is going to be in the studio. He's going to tell us what happened before the All-Star break and what's going to happen after the All-Star break. And he says he was bang on with all his picks. Now, my buddy Chopper, Kevin Mancuso, he says, whatever Billy tells you to bet the opposite. You're going to win a lot of money. So we'll see how good the baseball expert of Niagara Falls, the buzzard, did when he comes in the studio, and what his predictions are to the end of the season and the World Series. After that, I'm not having a show on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm taking a few days off here. It's been a hectic bunch of months since I went anywhere, and I'm going to take a few days and go somewhere and relax. Liz is off, so we're going to go somewhere and take some time and relax. So that'll be it. Monday will be the last show for the rest of that week, and then we're going to come back on the 29th with a big show. I'm getting Mike Lucid in here again to talk about this University of Niagara Falls and what's going on downtown and his view on how to fix stuff. And then we're going to be jumping into August. Believe it or not, August. And 4 weeks after that, we're in September, and she's all going to start to wind down. So enjoy yourself. Enjoy the weather. Get in those swims if you have a pool. We will talk to you on Monday. Thank you to everybody for viewing. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe. Hit the notification so you know when the next one comes up. And away we go. And we thank you to all the viewers. I mean, on the Mike Lucid video, we had over 150 views, I believe. And I think when Peter Dichter was in here, we've had 120 views or something. So yeah, we're building it. We have 22 subscribers. Let's go. Let's get the subscribers up to 100. There's got to be 100 of you people out there who like what I'm saying or hate what I'm saying. Either way, you got to subscribe. Have a great weekend. Well, not yet. Tomorrow's Friday. We still have another show, but have a great day and enjoy the weather. Take care, everybody. Ciao, ciao.